doing, Sister Lanisha? This is Brother Casey. I'm not trying to be in your business in any kind of way. I just overheard the conversation with Pastor Shell and you in regards to, I guess, your rent. And so I didn't listen to it all. I went ahead and left, and I did my own thing. But I just wanted you to hear something from me that I'm hoping to provide some encouragement for you. Okay, so I'm going to make this very brief, but I'll start from the beginning. I got saved in 1997. And as you know, I was playing drums in the clubs and all that kind of stuff. And so the bulk of my money, actually all my money, came from the clubs and everything. So I gave up all that stuff because I wanted God, right? So I didn't want to play in the clubs anymore. So here I am now, and I have no income whatsoever. But now I have God, okay? And so I had to take a crash course on how to operate in faith. I had to feed a dog and I had a cat. Neither one, it wasn't my dog, but the cat was mine. But I had to feed both of them and myself, and I had $5 a week, period. And the rent for the place I was staying at was about $300 at the time, so this was a while back. And so, it was just, it was something else. I had no money whatsoever. But what happened was, somehow, God always made sure that I ate 2 meals a day, and my dog and the cat ate. And to this day, I really don't know how he did it. I don't know how he did it. I wish I could sit here and tell you, he did this and that, but I just don't. Every day we ate. And like I said, I would have like $5 to make it, and we would all eat. But what I would do though is, because I didn't have a job and I was trying to figure out a new life in Christ, what I would do is get up in the morning. I would spend 30 minutes in prayer and 30 minutes studying the Bible. So whatever chapter the Lord gave me that day, whatever I opened up to, whatever it was, I would study it for 30 minutes. Then after I did that, I would, during the course of my prayer, I'd ask him, what do you want me to do today? And sometimes he just told me to clean up the house, or clean up the yard, or fix your car. I had a Camaro in the backyard at the time that I was working on. Or he may tell me to go out and look for a job today and go to this particular section of town. I have to ride a bus or a train. And with the little money that I had, I used it for a bus pass and all that. So, but every day I would ask him what to do with my day. Now I know God knew that I needed money. And for him to tell me just to work on the yard today, that was rough. And that was hard as a man, because I know, being a man, I knew how to hustle. I knew how to go out there, and if I needed some money, I'd get a gig, or, do odd jobs, whatever. I would do anything just to make sure I had some cash. And so I knew how to get little change, but I'm a new creature now, right? And so I'm doing things God's way now. And he would say, clean the yard, cut the grass or whatever. And so I'd have to swallow everything in me to do what God told me to do in that day, and that day only, and learn to be satisfied with it. Now, I went through that for a few months, but here's the thing I want to get at is I didn't realize it, but God was building my foundation in faith through that period. Okay? He was building my foundation in faith through that period by learning to just do what he said to do, no matter what it looked like or what I felt like, or even what I knew that I could do. I was going to do what God said to do with that day, and not worry about tomorrow or even the next week. I was just going to do what he said to do that day. Well, Pastor Shell and I started dating during that period, and she happened to run across someone who was looking for a roommate. Now, I was living in South Central and over on 59th, and my family was losing the house. My aunt had passed away. My cousin, who you probably remember, I don't know, but Deacon Cash, that was my cousin. That house I was living in was the house they grew up in. But none of them lived in the house but me. And so out of the 4 siblings he had, none of them paid any rent or anything towards that house. And when I said I wasn't going to pay any more money on it, the loan people threatened to go foreclosure on it. And so me leaving, they ended up losing the house. Now, that's a whole nother story we can talk about. But right now, we're talking about finances and stuff. So I needed a place to stay, and I needed one soon. And again, I didn't have a job. Well, about, I don't know, a week before Pastor Shell ends up meeting this lady who has an apartment, is looking for a roommate, I got a job working at Cragen Auto Parts. I was always into cars, and so I got a job working at a car place. And Pastor Shell told me that she met somebody looking for a roommate. And so she said, if I'm willing to come on in, they could use me because they needed somebody quickly. So here it is. I didn't have a job. We were losing the property. And I needed to go somewhere, and they didn't know where I was going to go. Like I said, within about a week, I got a new job, had opportunity for a new place. And all this happened suddenly, right? Quickly, amazingly quickly. And I ended up moving from South Central and living in Culver City. Really nice apartment. It was just great. My rent went up by, I think it was $700 a month. But here's the kicker. Now I had this new job and I had a new place, and God had moved me out literally within a flash. I was gone. But that taught me that even though now I had a $700 a month rent, that God was going to take care of it because I had learned how to operate in faith through that period when I had nothing, right? So the dog and the cat, but the dog went back to my cousin whose dog it was in the first place, and unfortunately the cat got killed by the dog. One day the cat got out and the dog got a hold to it, bit it, and then it died. But nevertheless, that helped me out because I couldn't have had a pet where I was going anyway. Now, I'm not saying that God couldn't have given the cat to somebody else, but point is, he cleared out my whole slate, so I had nothing holding me to that property when it was time for me to move. And I was able to move to Culver City. Okay, now I get to Culver City, and I'm learning jobs and all that, and the Lord showed me that, when I asked him what kind of career I should get into, he showed me computers, because I took a typing class in high school. And so I started getting into computers, and I got a job literally in walking distance from my new house, my new place in Culver City. And I was able to walk to a new computer job. And I think at the time it paid me about, I don't know, I think I made, about $1,000 per paycheck, And so I was able to cover my rent, and I was doing okay. Okay, so but what I'm getting at is God went from literally in a few months from having absolutely nothing, living in South Central, feeding a dog and a cat, had a jacked up car in the backyard, no job, nothing, to changing careers, going into computers, having a wonderful apartment in Culver City, moving out and having a nice job that I could walk to every day. And I got involved and started going to college. But he did that in a couple of months. But he had to take me through that period where I had to learn faith, that it is doing what God says to do and not looking at surroundings or what you can do yourself, but just allowing God to be your king and your director. I'll give you a part 2 to that later, but I just wanted you to hear that I went through a period where I had nothing. And looking back on it, that was one of the most beautiful times of my life, because it taught me who God is and who he could be to me, and that he loved me more than I can imagine, and that everything I would go through is going to be to my benefit, and he's using it and allowing me to go through it for a purpose. And even this testimony was part of that purpose, because one day back in 1997, God knew I was going to meet Lanisha, and she would be encouraged to hear of what I went through with him through that period. So you were even part of the equation back in 97. So I just want to let you know that God is in the blessed business, and just to trust him each day. Spend your time in your Bible, spend 5 minutes to 30 minutes a day in prayer. Talk with God all throughout the course of the day. Put away your own understanding and allow Him to be the head of your life and to lead you into doing what you want, what He wants done each and every day. He's going to move you in places you cannot imagine. I never imagined I can make a hop from South Central to Culver City with no job. So you always hear, if He did it for me, He can do it for you. Well, I'm here to tell you, God said that no eye have seen or ears heard what God has for those that love Him. And He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above anything you can ask or think. You haven't even seen the tip of what God has for you. And whatever you can envision is nothing compared to what He's got laid up for you. I know He's got blessings for you. So anyway, I'll give you part 2 to this later, but I just wanted to touch base with you, give you a short video to let you know you're not alone. I've been there. Pastor Shell can tell you about how she went through that, because we went through it together. There was a time when neither one of us had jobs, right? We had to believe God for everything, and you know our story. But anyway, love you in the love of the Lord, and I'll give you part 2 later in the week. Talk to you. Bye-bye.